freedomtalkradio.net.
So returning to Canada in 1990, fate manoeuvred me back to Port Alberni. There I rented a house at 8508 Sterling Arm Drive on Sprott Lake. My wife Pauline by then had emerged from within her human skin to take on her true nature of being dominated by a non-human entity. One could say her demons had witnessed many miracles, and I had to be stopped. Her demons were many, causing me a great deal of distress. But as love had always deserted me, my loneliness at least was a kind of refuge. And so it was yet another opportunity to outsmart Lucifer, pulling her strings like a puppeteer hiding in the shadows. Back in 1974, I had suffered a serious back injury. The doctors working for the same entity injected my back with a dye that was later banned due to the vast numbers of similar victims who had died in agony. The contrast fused the nerves running down the spine, causing the insulating covering to short out. Paralyzed from the waist down, these poor souls died in agony, many committing suicide. It's called arachnoiditis. The dye injected into the spinal sac in the amount of 16 cc allowed the radiologist to x-ray the myelogram contrast, which in a primitive way, the shape of the contrast indicated damage to the discs. In my case, the lower disc was damaged, but in a satanic twist, the dye was left in my spine, a death sentence guaranteed. The pain from the back was intense, yet over time, the contrast dispersed all throughout my nervous system. Back in Canada, in 1990, my back problems continued. Finally, a doctor ordered an MRI. It is a magnetic resonance system imparting 30,000 times the magnetic field of the Earth poles. And in the preparation, one has to have an X-ray of what they termed the orbs, basically the eyes, as there could be small remnants from a grinder that are steel and subject to a magnetic field. The MRI could pull the particles into the brain. The radiologist asked me if I had a recent myelogram. I replied, 1975. And he was stunned. He said the contrast was throughout my brain and even in my optic nerves. I explained the situation with the contrast being left in my spine. He informed me the dye was banned after people who had the same procedure, but with one major difference. The dye was removed, none left in the spine, yet these people in some cases died in agony within 5 years. Stunned, he said I should be dead. Only a miracle had kept me alive. The MRI revealed the doctors had taken out a healthy disc, leaving the damaged disc. It had by 1990 then broken up into small chunks, which was the cause of years of agony. In hospital, I had been asked if I wanted medication. So this is after the second operation, right? Yeah, the second operation after finding this, yeah. The operation was carried out. I woke to find they had placed a drip in my left hand with a flow of what they said was morphine. I removed it. I immediately got up and walked out, much to the horror of the medical staff. Returning to Vancouver Island, a small beachside town of Qualicum Beach, I found my wife Pauline had cleaned out the bank account, transferring $40,000 to her account she had set up in Melbourne. This is Melbourne, Australia. It was obvious she had intended to steal my money before we left Australia. The money was the proceeds of land I had sold. I faxed the bank requesting they send the money back as I was no longer coming to Australia. I forged her name and the bank sent it back. Had I not walked out of the hospital at that time, she would have been off on the plane and withdrawn the money once in Melbourne. Later, she begged me to come back. Now, as I had become accustomed to her sly ways, she was a perfect Geiger counter in a negative way. The last deceit was only thwarted by my knowing something was up and walked out of the hospital within hours of the operation. For the medical staff, an impossibility, as it usually takes days to recover and in some cases weeks. So as things spiritually was heating up, I told her sister Valerie that I would take her back and met Pauline in Hawaii. From that point on, it was a smile and pretense on my behalf, as by then I could read her like a book. We moved from Qualicum Beach to Sprout Lake in Port Alberni. By this time I had computers and several very expensive computer programs that worked off DOS, D-O-S. One was Easy Cosmos by Carl Sagan and a team of astronomers. The Bible program, See Bible out of Lubbock, Texas. Almanac of the Earth, which had the information on sunrise, moonrise and planets. Another for calculating time between dates. Another for measuring the Earth called Parsons PC Bible program, which was dedicated to the ancient Holy Lands, Israel and Roman Empire. I could measure any points. As it turned out, the age difference between Pauline and I, 1,018 days or 145 weeks and 3 days, revealed 2.287 years to 2.787 years, 2787 in Greek, is a box that is the sacred ark and that of Noah, ark. 1018 in Greek from the same as 1017, to arbitrate, to govern or rule. So it was all descriptive of you, the Christ. There is the distance in time between Pauline's rebirth date and the time of the Christ's rebirth date. While Pauline was in Australia, I carried out extensive renovations on the old house. When we came back from Hawaii, I typed out 194 verses of the Bible with the word certain. The combined verses read like a book, explaining precisely what had happened in the time I had been away from the earth. The last verse is a summary from Jude 1:4, quoting, "For there are certain men crept in unawares, who were before of old ordained to this condemnation, ungodly men, turning the grace of our God into lasciviousness, and denying the only Lord God and our Lord Jesus Christ." English Gematria of 2086, from 2218, to yoke up differently, unequally yoked together with. Following the notes in columns led me to John. The verse was in red. The Bible version had all of the Jesus quotes in red, as some Bibles do. It was about 2 a.m. I had printed and pasted them onto a plywood sheet. It was an announcement to me, the word certain. Later, I discovered the same Bible manipulators in the Talmud would not say the name Jesus, like "that's man certain" or "the certain man." As I read the column links in the Bible, it came to a verse which said, in red, quoting, "My son, his mother, and I are well pleased with you, and a place has been reserved for you in paradise from the beginning." The gematria means to weep and mourn. Now, Pauline considered herself to be a Bible expert. I, on the other hand, never read it. I woke her and showed her the verse. She read it and said she was unfamiliar with it. I read it a second time to her. She read it again. Back and forth. Then as I looked at it for the fourth time, it vanished. I turned out the light and we lay in bed discussing it. It was pitch dark, and to the right on the wall near the ceiling I noticed a pink dot of light. I asked her if she could see it, and she said she could. And we watched the light grow larger. Then as it reached hand width, I could see it was pushed out by a larger shape identical to the first, then another behind it, larger each time, until about 32 layers had filled the room in front of the wall. And this is what it looked like. There's this marvellous picture here of what it looked like. Later I realised it was very similar to M42 in the Belt of Orion. It was an unusual history, first recorded by the Chinese, then vanished for hundreds of years. Then a French lawyer was given a telescope by Galileo, who had recorded the moons of Jupiter, concluding the 4 he saw indicated 1,000 rotations in a year. He recorded the Belt of Orion, and yet not M42, which was visible to the naked eye in modern times. Galileo did not see it in January 7, 1610, But Nicolas Claude Fabre de Parsec did in November 26, 1610.
Use the same telescope.
Right, yes, because he was given it to him by Galileo 323 days later. Greek 323 from 322, the act of exhibition or showing. At 1600 light years away, this is M42, and 16 light years wide, with several sun-like stars in it, to suddenly vanish is a miracle, for the hydrogen gas is illuminated by the trapezium cluster within. These thought to be the cradle or womb of stars forming out of hydrogen.
Just a comment, the modern astronomers now have it at 1300 light years.
Oh, do they?
So it's moved closer since the time of Carl Sagan by 300 light years.
Right.
They measure the same way.
Yes. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, de Parsec discovered it November 26, 1610. He wrote on December the 1st, and then the 3rd...
What he was writing about was going on and off.
Okay, the nebula did not appear in Orion's serene sky, yeah. He continued to search, and it was back December the 10th. Then again later, it vanished. In physics, this is impossible, so solve the problem, sweep it under the carpet. I saw it with the naked eye in 2006 in Melbourne. In fact, it was huge, with Orion covering 50% of the sky, while in Italy in 2013 it was not there. Now, at 16 light years wide, if the suns within it go out altogether, the light should fade over 8 years from the centre out. With Parsec, it was on and off like a light bulb. I expect to see it very soon, along with the planets of Nibiru, and then the angels will arrive on space vehicles as they appeared to the ancients, like Easter Island, etc. And in...
all the old monuments that are witnessed by human beings say that the angels arrived in spacecraft.
Yes.
Did it and then left. Now there's an angel. They eat and they shit.
Yes,
they're very big.
Or some of them very small. They can appear to be... they can be, well, my size. So, all right, moving right along in this ripping yarn. I'm probably over time now, but who cares? Yes, I am. I'll just keep going. Joel can do what he wants to, or maybe we'll just let it roll. Yes, okay. We moved to Port Alberni and Sprout Lake. I thought that witnessing the Holy Ghost had influenced Pauline to get behind me, but no, she would not talk about it. On the lake, I began making videos of hummingbirds, and they began landing on my hand, as I had hung a feeder near the open window and would hold the feeder once they became used to it. Then I moved out through the window somewhat, and they began to feel comfortable as I spoke to them, and finally associated me with food and would land on me as I walked around outside. At one stage I had 16 sitting on my hand, all female with babies. It'd be so good to see. Oddly, they would not hang around when Pauline was in the room. The camera was a Canon Super 8, very expensive. It could freeze the wings with 10,000 frames per second. In July to August each year we travelled. So after we were living on Sprout Lake in 1991, we flew to Los Angeles, purchased an old car, and drove through Mexico to Belize. On the way back, stopped at a Mayan ruin. These are in the thousands. The road has signs all along the way, every several hundred metres or so. What happened there was utterly extraordinary. I had wanted to study a solar eclipse on July the 11th. However, my grandfather's birthday, June the 5th, 1991, was significant. The larger planets measured from Jupiter totaled 88.888 astronomical units. These were Uranus, 23.94, Neptune, 34.778, and Pluto, 30.17. It was unusual to have Pluto inside the orbit of Neptune. I was 47.40 years old, and 4740 is corner that is capstone. The distance from Jupiter, Mars and Venus, 10.41 astronomical units, and is altar in Greek. Ironically, Mayan temples number in countless thousands. It is hard to comprehend the evil of these ritual altars. Now, this date, June the 5th, 1991, here is the lineup of the planets and the distances, etc. 10.41, altar, Jupiter, it's all there, 88.888 astronomical units on Jupiter. I was 47.4 years old and capstone corner. An altar used for sacrifice was adjacent to cells where prisoners were held. Pauline was 15 metres or so away as I walked through the area. I could feel the terror of the victims.
I told her to keep the camera rolling.
Right?
She did.
She did. Good.
She recorded what she did when I read that.
Okay. I could feel the terror of the victims, and looking out through their eyes, said, "In the name of Jesus, I cast you out of this horrid place." As I did, the unbelievable howling screamed out, echoing in a circle around the area, further and further away, to die off in the distance.
3 or 4 minutes. Horrifying.
Blood curdling.
Oh, never heard anything like it.
Not even the dog next door?
No.
We caught this on video and did the same at Palenque. It a pristine, well-restored tourist trap. But as for Pauline, she sucked up the demons like a sponge, and that was all there was to it, a willing participant. She had to be with me for a purpose, and indeed she was Lucifer's child 100% from then on. I handed over the video to the mental health Dr. Hellon, and the contents blew him away.
See, academics, they don't believe in demons and all this
No,
stuff. They don't believe in
that's right.
Jesus.
That's it.
They believe in evolution.
Mm.
Then you show them the video. And there it is. Twice it happened. The second
Yes.
time in Palenque, there was people walking around, they didn't hear it.
Amazing.
Yet it's on the
It's on the video. So we've got a couple of slides here I'll get through quickly because this is for Radio Palenque, the temples. I took Pauline to see the beauty of Mexico. This is called Aqua Azul. It's beautiful. Beautiful
That's
aqua
where they made the
falls.
movie Tarzan.
Oh, did they? Oh, looks like it too. Now, back in Canada, Pauline loved to get stoned. So this day, I procured some pot from the local Indians. She was delighted. Went into the bedroom to fix herself up, some sort of odd ritual. Anyhow, I turned the camera away from the birds and into the room and let it run. She began to smoke the dope, then launched into a satanic laughter, speaking in an unfamiliar guttural tone, boasting how she had convinced all the ladies I was Lucifer. The camera captured this odd behaviour. She told me she planned to commit suicide and told her friends I was going to kill her. I contacted the head of the police in Port Alberni, sat down... Anderson, was it? Sat down with him, and
My
he...
number was 2424 720 2424, which is Jesus. The local RCMP constabulary.
So he said to inform Dr. Hellon with mental health. I had already become friends with Dr. Hellon, right?
Yeah.
He was the head of the mental health, Dr. Charles
He
Hellon.
was actually retired from Alberta, the head of all of the province of Alberta, and he came to Port Alberni to retire and struck me.
Oh my God, they gave him you. Hello!
I want to relax, he said.
You think he's still alive?
Oh, he could be. He's a very old man.
Yes. I had given him the videos. Odd as they were, he was stunned. After all, academics are basically stupid. Universities are all dominated by Jews. However, face-to-face is another story. I convinced him the videos do not lie. I had told him about Pauline And during conversations he concluded what I was telling him about the pyramid, etc., was undeniable, and that I was a man of great interest. I encouraged him to contact his trusted friends in universities. As for Pauline, she was becoming more violent each day. He arranged a plan for her to attend the hospital every Wednesday, and we entered into a lure. His nurse called into the house to visit me and met with Pauline. While there, she asked Pauline if she would come to the hospital to talk to the ladies into the hospital who had mental issues, on the pretense Pauline was a fine example of a well-adjusted woman. Her ego could not resist, lured into the observation of herself, and under observation spoke in a round table with ladies suffering various mental health issues. Later, Pauline had me charged with threatening to kill her. I was arrested. There is no defence in court. So as fate had set it all up, Dr. Helen sent word to the review judge that I was convinced I was Christ and that there was no cure for it. Now, I had never mentioned to Dr. Helen my opinion on that subject, but as he said later, it was obvious by the information and genetic codes. So he got you off, and in a casual...
Well, I told him, I said, I don't want to start a religion.
Yes.
I said, get all your buddies that you trust in the universities right throughout the country. And he did. Didn't tell me he did, but later. And that's what started it all. And I could go on for days about what happened after all that.
After all that.
It's very good for another upload to talk about it.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay. All right. Now, after all this, I ended up in a forensic institute, and as this was happening, Pauline was in the courts attempting to take control of the vast sum of money I had told her was so large it would take 2 accountants to write out the cheque. I'll just put a W in there so we get...
That was a joke, right? I never intended to get any money.
Right.
Any money I was going to get would be a pension, right?
Exactly. I was laying a trap. As the law states, no one can take any money from a worker injured in a workplace accident, especially back in 1974 when I was not married to her. So I toyed with her time and time again, dangling the idea I would buy her a house. This calmed her somewhat as I continued using her to reveal miracles she could not comprehend. After overcoming the forensic situation, in fact, they could not get rid of me soon enough as I was curing the inmates. That is another story.
Did the asylum. Right?
Yeah.
I used to tell these people, and they were very upset, these people, because they're primarily because they've had a bad life and they've finally got the sheds and kicked a shed out of a window in a shop or something silly like that. And I said, look, tell these dopey bastards what they want to hear. They say, oh, yeah, okay, you're right. I'll start taking your pills. The next thing you're out.
Yes.
Right? But that's what they're waiting for.
Yes.
For them to admit their fault and then to get
then move on.
Right? Move on. So I was emptying the place out.
Which is exactly what you'd expect Jesus to do.
Oh, absolutely. The first time when I got released out of there, because I actually, there was a great huge psychiatrist,
Yes.
And she must have been 500 pounds. She had perfect skin because there wasn't a wrinkle in her. And I'd compliment her every time, every day I had to go talk to her. Right? I said, gee, what's that lovely perfume? Oh, your hair looks nice today. What's that dress? What's this? What's that? And you go, come here, keep the skin so lovely.
Yes.
So she basically fell in love.
Yeah.
Right? And she got me out of there. That's how I got out. Otherwise I'd be still there. And that's how it works in Canada. You get locked up.
Yes.
It's very hard to get out. You've got to have certain conditions. You've got to have a place to go, you've got to have someone to look after you, all that kind of stuff. I avoided all that. But on the way back over to the island, the first people I met waiting for the bus was named Golightly. Like, hello, was that not set up?
Totally. Yeah, right. Okay, so Back in Port Alberni and under a restraint order, Pauline phoned me. She said she had been telephoned by a man who said I had managed to slip out of the institute but would not get out a second time. He gave her a number and said to tell me. The number was 8517. She was in a panic. Come see her. I went to the police and told them she had called me. Normally they should say stay away, but no, go see her. I had them sign a paper to that effect. Now the number 8517.
So if I went to see her,
without the...
you're breaking the restraint order, you're back in jail.
Totally. Which is
so
what
I went to the police and said, I'm not going nowhere. So the police were in on it. Yeah, go ahead, go see her, he says, right? So I said, right, sign a piece of paper, I've come and told you, right, and what you're telling me to do.
Yes.
Right? So he was really breaking the law, telling me to do it. Anyhow, I go and see.
Okay. So the number 8517, Daniel 7:9, quoting, and this is why I call you, and I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire, as he's spinning donuts out in the cul-de-sac. Now, snow is the number 8517 in Hebrew, corresponding to 7950. Yeah.
In the whole Bible, it's only found once.
Yes. There it is in Daniel. So what were they planning? She also said that a car would park behind her apartment with a loud radio playing the music from The Sting, a movie starring Paul Newman and Robert Redford. It was all about a sting operation, so they, the agents for the government, saw me as pulling off a sting operation. However, Pauline wanted me to visit her once a week. I sweetened the pot with buying her groceries and a few dollars. Smoking dope, she would spill her contact with the mental health and how they were wanting me to undergo a barrage of tests in hospitals. I said no, they could get stuffed. They had me for 40 days and drained blood out of me and were stunned by my IQ test results. That is off the chart. In fact, I told them the childlike tests were stupid. Put a pyramid down in front of me and I would explain it. Now, moving on to Pauline's friends. She had convinced them I was Lucifer. One of her friends was an older lady. She dropped in on the Tuesday afternoon when I visited Pauline to check me out. She had a slight hearing problem as a child and spoke like a deaf person who had finally some hearing restored. But she was very smart, and so we would talk about what I tried to get through to Pauline. And she concluded I was not Lucifer, but was in fact flawless in my information. She and I became close in that regard, and one day she told me her story. She had worked as an accountant for two brothers who had immigrated to Canada from the USA. They had made a fortune retrieving dead head logs from Cameron Lake. She had become a partner in the business. They needed an accountant as the business grew. She told me that one day, while driving back from the timber mill on Cameron Lake, she saw a gigantic golden spire, like a huge Eiffel Tower, suspended over Port Alberni. Now, as she was an intelligent, logical woman, what she saw was what she believed was there. This was the level of the trust between us. As it turns out, the house I built on Rex and Regina in Alberni, as mentioned in the previous videos, I had purchased the timber from her partners before she met them. This was all in 1968, way before she had met them. These were the dudes who sold me the timber for the home. The timber from mills were usually put through a planer, sending the chips to the mill for sale and made into paper. I wanted rough cut and built the entire house with rough sawn timbers. I told this woman about Dr. Helen watching Pauline, who he called a delusional, paranoid schizophrenic. And
Sure know how to pick it, huh?
And so the coincidences continued, and was all due to the fact that Pauline, as evil as the day is long, constantly bagging me as being an evil bastard, Lucifer in the flesh, had intrigued this lovely old lady to get to the bottom of it. And she concluded the reverse was true, as her mind was capable of comprehending the numbers, she being an accountant. And numbers have to fit in any spreadsheet. So over time, she saw me in a different light, with a mind like a bear trap, not to be taken lightly. So back in Australia, by this time it's 1996, October the 8th, you land in Australia. Months later, I meet Michelle, and on it goes. Michelle is Mary Magdalene. 13.13 years of agony with another lunatic. But these fools were placed before me in miraculous ways to overcome and reveal the numbers of genetic nature. Finally, after years of torment from relatives, wives, offspring, the internet trolls, CIA, ASIO, Mossad, religious lunatics, Ash, moi, finds me. Then, regardless of her tireless faith and love, has convinced a few followers, I am the Lord. She and Anna, that's Andrea Anna, convinced Pope Benedict XVI. But this is still not good enough for the masses. Well, here it is, just the other day, 3 days ago? Mm-hmm. A cult in Hawaii. I went into my email, my private email, and mostly it's all spam, I just get rid of it, but I saw this one, something about Aquarium Radio guest request. I thought, oh, I'll look at this, see what it is. And it had the reference to the Apostolic Letter, a friend of Benedict, and it seemed like they were requesting us, somebody said, as a guest for their radio show, Aquarian Radio. So it had all their links to this cosmic blah, 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 and whatever. So I started communication, and she wanted information so she could do her due diligence before she'd even speak to us. Bottom line is I sent her the testament, which explains everything. I mean, if you get that, right, it flows, it's pretty easy. So I sent it to this woman, Janet Lesson, and she was all enthusiastic first until she read that, and it must have clued in that this is judgment. And then she wrote back and said, thank you for sending me all of that information, however, I don't think I am the one to interview you at all. Good luck. It did not resonate with her. She was going to sleep on it and consult her spirit guides. So, all right, we're laughing. We go over and then I do an investigation of herself. She's married to an anthropologist, and bottom line is Aquarian Radio. They used to be on Spreaker at one point, a year ago, and now they're on some other blog talk radio. But there's advertising there for, what was it, Tantric Sex Channeling, brought to you by Janet Lesson, and then another advertisement of a naked woman with two naked men having group sex. So orgies, and how there were lessons on...
Men and women, women and women, men and men.
Yeah, all this brought to you by this... and they believe they are Anunnaki. They call themselves the Anunnaki Round Table. Hello.
They chase each other around the table, is that the idea?
Naked. And then if they tag each other, they get to have sex on it, I suppose, in front of everybody else. Or Who knows? It's disgusting. However, no wonder it didn't resonate. It's disgusting. So, yeah, so they know Hawaii is being irradiated, and however, they won't have us on, even though Christ is back, he has the answer, so...
Still not good enough.
Still not good enough. So here we go. Here endeth this marvellous PowerPoint. More miracles explaining. We're up to 1 hour and 26 minutes, and I'll pause and we'll figure out what to do with the rest of it. Here we go.
That's the thing. That's the thing.
So what's happened?
Down the street.
No, but that's the thing. That's the thing. Like, I'm a one woman guy, right? And I know.
Not at all.
I know for a fact that
There are exceptions to the rule.
not my rule. Not my rule.
Okay, so what's happened?
It's just basically I did what Brian would do, and it's just come back like I'm right. That's it. I'm right.
Which means who's right?
Yah's right. 100%. And that's what I mean. Like, I look at all these people that have all these problems, like whether it be financial, anything that they come to Yah with, right? And they're like, oh, what do I do about it? And they ask him. Brian says, go ahead and do this. And they never do what he says, right? Even because they're like, oof, that goes against the grain. It's a bit rough, you know? That's the sandpaper option. I want the nice ice and cream, right? Like, so... the fact is, as long as you do what Brian does, it always comes to fruition. It always comes out exactly how it should be, right? And that's just what I applied. I'm like, fuck it, I'm just gonna throw it out there, and that's basically it. I was just like, no, if that's your idea of love, fuck off. If that's your idea of love, then that's not love to me. You know? And here I am thinking,
Tell the audience what she said love was.
well, like. It was a bit of a misunderstanding, but basically what I was taking it as, and what I was hearing from her was that love to her, right? Well, she was saying her love is pure, and that we don't even need to be in a relationship to be together, which is... Yeah, exactly. I'm like, where I'm thinking, here I am, I'm like, am I the hopeless romantic in my thinking when I'm like, I love, like, I'll drop everything. I'll go to London if that's what it'll take.
Be irradiated.
Be irradiated and wipe off the face of the planet. Soul will never reincarnate because I love you. You know, and it's just like, and yet you're saying, oh yeah, we can be in love, we can love each other, but don't have to be together until you're ready to have kids. Like, to me, that's just like, what? That's not a concept of love whatsoever. Like, that's like platonic love. And I love everybody.
Platonic.
I don't have to. I love everybody, but I don't have to be with them. You know, like it's like, you know, I love Allie as my sister, but I don't have to be next to her. Right? It's like that's exactly this love that she's talking about. So it's just like, yeah. So I just said, look, if that's your idea of it, then no, you've got it completely wrong. You've got it completely backwards. The greatest examples that we can follow, like, okay, you say you're not ready. Look. Because she's just like, oh, I want to build so we can learn how to be together. And I'm like, what do you call the past 3 years of shit? That's the foundation building blocks. That's our motivation. That's our guidance, right? And what do we have to look on as examples of that? And that's Mom and Brian. Simple. Absolutely simple. And I'm like, you know, and I'm telling her, I'm like, look, I reckon we could be even better than Mom and Brian. Because I can learn from the little tits and tads from here that I've been observing.
Hello, got a competition going here.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, but and I basically told him, like, look, I've got a goal, personal goals in my life, and that's to become as virtuous as I can be. And if I'm going to be in a relationship with somebody, it's going to be the utmost, like, standard for the new generations to come in the future. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, it's going to be that's what love is, and that's how you do it right. Everything else is convoluted bullshit.
What Adam and Eve should have been from the beginning.
Thank you. Yeah, just a roller coaster. But it's just like my dream, literally. Just like my dream. She's strapped in there. Here comes the fire, and I'm going to get you out of there. And she goes, no. I'm like, come here, I'm going to get that belt off. And she's going, no, fuck off.
It's the plane on fire.
And I'm going, that's it. You know what? Fuck this. That's it.
Joel, a bit of editing.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but yeah, no.
I leave it. That's a young man's way.
Oh,
of
we're
thinking.
explicit.
We have it explicit.
I sound explicit, but no good.
It's very similar.
As soon as I saw that up, I was like, oh god, I've got to. No, I'm not gonna. I got to really tone back. But it's just I've been in an absolute
A
emotional
roller coaster.
hell.
An emotional roller coaster.
Well, that's it. And it's just like, nah, okay, dreams don't mean anything by this point. Even though what she had said totally confirmed it, backed it up. Now it just means like, yeah, it's all airy-fairy nonsense. No, it's just that part. That's how close we are to the end, mind you. How these things are rolling in succession, one after the other. And like literally that was the part where, you know, me trying to get her out and save her. And there it is.
Now, you had to get your act together, Adam, representative of all mankind. What is interesting is that now, at the Script site, we have 930 followers, which is the number for Adam. That's how many years Adam lived. And 121 documents uploaded, and that's the number for Adam. So it's all about Adam getting his act together, wouldn't you say, babe? Mm. So finally.
Yeah.
Now, you do remember it, I remember a dream that you had, because I remember most of them anyway, that you and Claudia finally make it, hand in hand, and you arrive at, like, the holy city, hand in hand.
Well, it's just like the first dream, right? Where, you know, the plane crashes and everything in paradise. And then where was the wedding taking place after the destruction? Like literally we're like together, and yet we're being wed in the post-apocalyptic era. Like everything was destroyed. It was all rubble. Like the people that were there for the sitting were sitting on rubble. You know, as I lift the veil. So
it's like the road with the wedding. The movie The Road, where everything is destroyed and on fire.
yeah.
And there's a wedding.
Yeah. So, we're right at that, right on the precipice, I guess, of everything coming to an end.
And when you was in Sydney, you're going to buy some wheels for a skateboard. I said, just going to fall off.
Yeah, that's why when
And he
you go...
says, when he gets up there, I never fall off. And out he goes, and he comes back limping right.
Yesterday, yeah.
Bruised heel, but mind you, I didn't fall on that heel. That heel has been broken for years. It's been, since I was 16, there's been a chipped bone in there that's never healed. That's what I mean. I'm like, I fell on my elbow, my arms and everything's fine. Why the hell is my heel acting up? And then,
Show me your elbow. What's it doing?
Oh, it's fine.
Ooh, that's a quick healing. It was...
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like, and when I was falling, like midair, I was like, oh shit, because it was a bad bail. Like, and then as soon as I landed on the ground, I got right back up like that. I didn't even do that when I was younger. You know, it was only, and then like I said, I got home, the adrenaline wore off, and I'm going, I am not as young as I used to be.
No,
I have no spring chicken.
Sore.
I have no spring chicken. You know, that's why I said to Mom, I was like, yeah, I really don't see skateboarding as my career. You know, it's like, that's just...
and I made some comment, well, you're 930 years old.
Well, there you go. You know, it's like how some folks have their favorite bike that they like to ride once in a while. That's exactly what it is.
No, yeah, I was having a laugh at your expense. You told me he never falls off, and you know, blah, 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 blah.
I usually don't.
I already told your mother you were going to fall off.
Yes, and that's why I sent that text to you. Well, that would be really stupid, as we're in Sydney. So.
Well, yeah, as soon as she did, I was very cautious. I was like, okay, so I won't go to the park. I'll just go to Hyde. I'll skate the flat ground. I'll do a few tricks. I'll sit down. I'll catch my breath.
All we could think of was, oh God, here we go, you know, hospital visit, blah, blah, blah.
No.
Now, you wanted to talk today when we went for our beach walk together. You wanted to voice some opinion about Anastasia, the Ring of Cedars that has got the world ensnared.
It's not the world. It's just I want to appeal to
millions of people.
I want to appeal to people's logic with the thing, okay? Because they see Anastasia as a real person. Now, me understanding like that the eyes, the mouth, the ears, they're all the windows to the soul, right? They're all the windows to you. I'm not gonna. If someone hands me a book, I'm not gonna blindly just go, yeah, okay. Start reading it, right? Because you don't know what's in it. You don't know who's written it, and basically what's their agenda behind it. Okay. So Claudia goes, here's the book. And I'm like, okay, look, I'll read it, but I'm telling you, I'm warning you. And it's just like Brian said, I'm warning you, if I read the Bible, I'll pick it apart. That's the exact same thing I was going to do with that. I'm like, look, I will pick it apart. So just let me see what I'm getting myself into. Did a little bit of research, and everything comes up with praises, nothing but praises for the book, until I found one article that really goes in on it, and it's like, simply put.
Yeah, that one that I found on that you had that.
Yeah, it's like, simply put, look at the author, and what is the author trying to say, and what is the author's intentions? Well, first of all, he was sued for plagiarism over the book, over the series. Second of all, it's really weird when you're going into, because it's all about spirituality, high morals, divine guidance. Okay, so here's Anastasia. Here's Anastasia, this young, blonde, naked woman that has apparently her parents died. She lives in Taiga or whatever, in Siberia, and she lives naked through the winter. But because she is so spiritually in tune with nature and herself and God, she can survive. And I'm thinking, okay, well, first of all, logically, that's impossible. I don't care how close to God you think you are. Look, I'll be standing next to Brian in Siberia naked. He could be in a parka. I'm going to die. I'm telling you right now. I'm not making it through the week.
Guarantee you'll have a coat on.
Exactly. I'm not making it through the weekend, right? So that's the first thing. I'm like, okay, well, wow, that's really illogical. Okay. And then you look at other things. Okay, well, it's all about this moral high ground, and yet when this middle-aged man, right, goes to this woman's talking about how you can't have immoral sex, and that it has to be with one partner that you're sure to be with the rest of your life with, right? And yet she sleeps, and she's a virgin. Yet she sleeps with this middle-aged man that pops up out of nowhere.
And he's married.
And he's married. So
children.
There is no morals. There is absolutely no moral here because, well, he's
talk more about the effect that it has had on millions of people.
Well, the effect that it has had on millions of people, including like Slavic people, for instance, people that have ancestry from the oppression of communism, through communism, Bolshevism, right? They were so oppressed physically, mentally, and spiritually, right? And then all of a sudden this bloke comes out with this really nice, simply put, this is how, they're all really good ideas, everything that we should follow, yeah. But the fact is the dude's got an agenda behind it, and it is New Age theosophy. And that's how it's entrapping all these Slavs, because these Slavs have had nothing spiritual, and it's like with every bit of religion. Why does religion become so consuming? Because it's got a little bit of Yah with a whole lot of bullshit. They give you that little bit of Yah to draw you in, and then they fill you with shit. Right? So, and of course this is not all full of nonsense. Like, it does help people get to their spiritual vibrations higher. But at the same time, you can't be ignorant to the world that we're living in, because that is the New Age theory. Basically, if I'm not looking at it, it's not happening. That's bullshit. It's happening right in front of you.
What did I tell you this afternoon?
Now, this afternoon, this is what really got me. I was like, you should have been the first person I went to with this, because Mom actually had a conversation with Arthur Christensen, who is the owner of loveforlife.com. And that was the link that Claudia sent me to download the book. Forget Vladimir Merge's site, the actual Anastasia site, because that's nonsense. And for instance, like for all the points that they make where they say, oh, he was a trading businessman that dropped his whole entire life and now lives on a homestead, an eco-village. Bullshit, he doesn't live in an eco-village. He actually lives in a nice... He's got millions and millions of rubles and dollars. He's living the high life.
Because millions and millions and millions of people have bought his books.
Exactly. And it's got a disclaimer in the very first paragraph of the book. If you don't read this in the middle of nature, if you read this around electricity and that, it'll give you a bad energy and you will find it to be not useful to you. Whereas if you find it and you open your mind and accept it for the truth that it is, this divine truth, then it'll enrich your life. Well, basically, what is that saying? What does that say off the bat? It's like, take my word for it, everything's true, believe me from this point on, or don't read the book.
Just send me a check.
Exactly. Exactly. So, Mom actually ends up having a conversation with Arthur Christensen.
Now, this came about in 2007. That's right. No, it was 2008, before we moved out of 2 Tulip Close. And I had found Brian already in the March on your birthday. And then I think it was through Strawman information, I happened upon loveforlife.com, and I realised that the guy's really close. As it turns out, he was just around the corner. So I phoned, and he walked around to my house and spent 4 hours. And we sat at the kitchen bench, and he talked and talked and talked and talked. You think I can talk? You think, yeah, I can talk. This guy raved on. And it was,
while the sun was going around the earth, I believe.
Yes, it was all about Anastasia and the Ring of Cedars and the communities. And he was convinced, because Anastasia revealed it to a whole lost world, that the earth stood still and the sun revolved around the earth, evidenced through the parent and children milling around. Anyway, after the 4 hours of conversation, and I told him, well, the Christ is back. So he then goes into his philosophy, how we're all Christ, we're all this, that, and the other, and all the rest of it. Mm-hmm. And as he left my place, I told him, I said, you are totally deluded. And he wished me well anyway, and, never... Now, you had a conversation with Arthur Christensen, because he phoned here. It was over the magnetic motor. Somehow, again, there was a connection, and he ended up phoning you and speaking to the Christ himself. And again, I could see just listening to the phone, and he's crapping on about the same BS. Anastasia, and I really didn't know. And
look, like I said, it's got that little bit of where it helps you, realize you got a soul, and yes, the best way to go about things is positively and with a higher vibration. That's all fine. No one's got any quells with that. What I got a quell with is all the bullshit that it comes with. Basically, exactly what you heard. The sun revolves around the earth. There's no logic to that. Oh, yes, if you're in tune with nature, you can leave your child out in the middle of the woods. When it's hungry, your child just snaps its fingers and little squirrels will bring it chestnuts for a snack. No, if you leave your kid out in the wild, it's going to die. It's that simple.
Especially in Australia, there's no squirrels.
Now, what the whole world has gotten away from is that judgment. Judgment.
Exactly.
Nobody wants to...
I am the vine.
We are the branches.
Surprised I haven't been raptured yet.
This is the other thing. This is the other thing where I don't like, is where it tells everybody, we can save the world, and we are saving the world with one happy face at a time. That's what it takes. It takes everybody to be on one good vibration.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yes.
Protection from radiation. That's
Just
exactly.
smile.
Good job.
Exactly. Now, how can you honestly look at the world today and be like, you know what? This is going to be saved. I'm going to tell you how it's going to be done. Hey, you over there, you got a soul. Get those vibrations up. We're changing. Here comes the quantum. No, it's not happening that way. A quantum will be a different way of thinking. Yes, a different way of perceiving the world. Oh my God, something's wrong here. And then it brings about the physical manifestation of change, where you're actually okay, I got to do something about this as a group, as a whole. It's not going to be literally, this is wrong, and everything stops. No, not at all.
Well,
and that's what they're promoting in this book. You don't have to do anything. It's all going to be done for you. All you got to do is believe in what I say.
Sounds typically Jewish, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's theosophy.
Oh.
Exactly. And this came out in 1997. That's where it really scratches my head. I'm like, okay, folks, everything you're listening to has been laid out 100 times before in a million different versions, fashions, brands, and,
Before 1997.
Way before 1997.
Same old.
And it just so happens that the people that went down this line of thinking and went to the extremes ended up eating children.
Oh.
So, if that's what you're really headed with this, then, Aleister Crowley, thank you very much. He was following Madame Blavatsky. And that's what this Theosophy New Age is. There is no universal sin. There is no sin. It's only guided by your own moral judgment.
Yeah.
And your own moral judgment is literally guided by, by yourself. You control the universe. The universe is not in control of you. So, how do you show that you are the utmost willing and able to do anything? You do the thing that is completely unnatural, which is going against everything God ever said, and that happens to be, in their sense, killing an infant and eating them or drinking their blood. And that's and like
Very Jewish, isn't it?
oh, absolutely. And it doesn't start out to that extreme. No, it starts off with this very this fantasy bullshit that they give you. It's all about this. It's all about eco living. It's all about basically it's about
crystals and rainbows.
Exactly, witchcraft gardening. It's like that right from there, from the sign should be like, whoa, I'm into something weird here. It drives me up the wall, really. And Claudia's whole thing is like, oh, you don't respect my point of view. It's like, no, look, I get your point of view, and it's a great one. I like the path that you're heading down. But the fact is, this whole book that's promoting absolutely rubbish.
Is that where she got it from?
Well, she's been struggling with, basically just feeling like she has a soul. Feeling like, and that's what a lot of people do. They feel soulless.
Remember, in your household, who was it? Was it Rhiannon or the other sister had been given the series of Anastasia, and they suggested that you read it or something? Or I remember you might have.
That would have been the older sister.
Dimity. Yeah.
Well, I just...
Very dysfunctional, and she was a what's the word? There's something in it very, very odd. A life coach.
Oh, like a personal life coach. Oh.
She used to tell other people how to live. Lunatic.
So typical of today.
Yeah. She's the one that had the king of Indonesia.
Yes.
Right? He was dying because he's taken on everyone's sins, and asked me if my miracle water would help. And I said, well, I'd either cure him or kill him. So she took it to him, and I said, but tell him, do not get up out of bed, he's going to feel so good. So she takes it in on the Friday night, where she's going to sit with him all night and gives him the water and says, do not get out of bed. So he feels so good, he gets out of bed. He goes down into the toilet at the bog, right? And on the way back, he's face down on the concrete, dead. I said, I'll cure him, I'll kill him. I did put a couple of drops in my blood. That usually works. Sort out the real.
This has all been conjured up in 1997. Look at the Colburn. The Colburn, folks, everything that you're loving about this, from this man that claims it's from this divine source, which is basically the same claim as aliens. And the reason why he says it's divine information is so it's not open for scrutiny. Okay?
Oh, yeah, that's a caveat.
That's it. So, and you should see the people that come to its defense, right? It's like, hold on, all I'm doing is saying, look at it in a skeptical manner, right? Like,
so it's probably appeared on the George Norrie Coast to Coast or whatever.
It's on every. Oprah promoted it.
It's not provable.
Once it's been on Oprah, you know it's
exactly. Like Oprah's promoting it. Jews are promoting this.
Of course they do.
Right? Do you see anybody promoting the Colburn? Hells no! They divided the book in 4 and spread it all through the continent so nobody would read the goddamn thing. What does that tell you? There's no 35 million copies of the Colburn running around.
And there's no 35 million view counts at our Scrib site having read the Apostolic Letter going, yay, the Christ is back.
That's what I mean. Like, why? Like, take all these examples of what you know to be truth and how it gets absolutely shoved underneath the rug, and then this comes along, 35 million, and you just fall for it? Like, how?
And what do we know about the music industry, how it operates? Spells, right? spells are cast.
Spells and
Hell's bells.
that's why, like, you know, the first paragraph, she's invoking an energy into this book so it'll sell 1 million copies. Okay, no, look, truth doesn't need an energy to sell copies. Truth.
Just keep the Jews away. That's what they got.
No, like, yeah, and there it is, the Colburn. The Colburn tells you.
I appreciate all these books coming out and lead all these idiots down the road because I don't want to.
Right. Broad is the road to destruction, and many there be on it.
That's it. Now, Claudia,
Narrow is the way to life, and there's about less than 12 on it right now.
Now the way Claudia looks at it is she thinks that I think her point of view is stupid. I'm like, no, look, I totally get it. Now, all I'm saying is, just from my own experience and the whole life path, because since a child, me and her have been on this road. You're just hopping on at the last moment, okay? We've been on this road a long time, and I'm telling you, this is not the way to go about it. Like, yes, you're on the very right path with the way that you want to achieve your own spiritual, you know, what do you call it? Awakening. But look at the Colburn. The Colburn's got absolutely everything you need in it. And you know for 100% of a fact that it's not from some bloke who's trying to get your money. It's not from some bloke that's trying to promote some Jewish ideology. You know it's safe, and it's you look at it and you go, that's not only divine, the Colburn, that is exactly how it should be.
And
That
we
is
have
it.
a copy here. She doesn't have to buy anything, so when she comes, she can
Absolutely.
devour it.
I'm getting some divine inspiration.
You
I'm
are.
channeling.
Oh.
This is Anastasia. You should just listen to Brian.
That's it. It's a fictional character, and people think this woman is real. It's like, please, show me anywhere in history where someone's been able to live through the winter naked.
Well, wait on. There was a breatharian. Do you know what a breatharian is?
Oh, living off the prana.
Living off the, breathing alone. Now, the woman that wrote, what is it, Fatima? The Catholic book that the Catholics devour. Remember that dude at Bowral? David Clue's buddy. Now, did he meet Brian? Or I told him about, the Christ is here. And he refused to believe it because his book, he was so focused on this book and this woman who spent all of her life in bed, breathing, not eating or anything else, and was having all these visions and speaking on behalf of Jesus.
As you do, as your body's starting to eat itself.
We call them airheads.
Anyway,
My
so,
dog,
what's that, Ben?
my stepfather had a dog. And he trained it to give a little bit less food every day.
Right, there you go.
Finally, it was living on nothing. And he was so pissed off when it died on him.
Anyway, this book, being with Jesus for all of these years, because she hadn't all this time on her hand and was in bed and couldn't walk and all the rest of it, and she wasn't eating. So she had all this time to commune with Jesus, and
That's
so
called going
her-
delusional.
yeah.
that's it.
Anyway, the book is really popular and Catholics love it. I think it's called something to do with Fatima and anyway.
Does not the Catholics realise that Muhammad's daughter's name is Fatima?
Fatima, yes.
The Fatima diet, that's what it's called. Yeah.
Yes, a way to get rid of your fat.
Actually, Grant went on a diet like that. He said you can live on air. Right?
Oh my
I was
goodness.
picking up a cake shop and I was munching on this apple with cream on it, right? Munching on it, I said, "What, right?" No, he's just drooling it. I'll buy you one, right? That's when he's diet right now.
Well, back in the day,
I know who he is. I haven't met him.
back in the day, before you went to the cross, there was some wise words about, you don't fast when the bridegroom is with you, like, I'm here. You can refer to the ancients, Isaiah, and the fast that the Lord would call for and this kind of thing. And but hey, the bridegroom's here. The bridegroom is on the scene. Get over your fasting. It's time for feasting.
Tell that to all the Arabs around, what is it?
Ramadan.
Ramadan. Oh, God.
The Golightly Marshall Hour on freedomtalkradio.net.